Hey everybody, this evening I've got a video that's been about a week in the making. It's a Tyco Alco C630. This locomotive started life as a chassis system, and it's one of those ones that the motor was shot on, so I decided to do a complete makeover on it. I went ahead and painted the whole body with the Rust-Oleum flat black. I picked the higher quality can of paint to try to get it on as thin as possible. It still goes on a little thick, um, but actually I'd rather it go on a little thicker than a little thinner, as long as it doesn't coat the details of the locomotive, and it doesn't. I shot it up with paint, and I started putting decals on. The decals are from K4. These are what they're called, water slide decals. And if you look, I'm blotting the water away as I've applied the decal. You got to be kind of gentle and careful doing it. Make sure you always get the locomotive nice and wet before you put the sticker on, because it gives you time to let the sticker float around and get it where you want it. Once you get that done, you can take and dab it with a paper towel to try to get most of the moisture away, and then push down really hard with a paper towel. I say really hard, firmly, to try to squeeze the water out from behind it, and it'll help it adhere to the locomotive faster. You just have to be careful and make sure you hold your thumb still when you push down on it, otherwise it can slide around and you'll have it where you don't want it. Then you got to try to peel it back up to put it back, and it can be a pain. Next, you can see I've got the little white backgrounds for the number boards that I got to put on, and I was worried about doing this because the backgrounds, I was going to end up having to put a sticker on a sticker, and I didn't know how it was going to work out. Well, as you see here, I put the backgrounds on, and with this particular locomotive, it has number boards already on it. And I probably, in hindsight, should have took a little bit of sandpaper and tried to sand the number down, because as the background went on, you could see the number just a little bit through the white. But if you don't take a magnifying glass to it after I put the numbers on the number boards, you couldn't see it. So it wasn't the worst thing in the world. It definitely could look a little better. And when I put the matte clear coat on, I don't think I waited quite long enough for the stickers to dry, because they tried to shrivel up a little bit on me. I'm not sure what's in that matte clear coat that would let that happen, but I did have that issue come up. Now, they don't look terrible. I mean, when you talk to a guy about painting a truck and he goes, "Oh, it looks good from 20 feet," it definitely looks good from way closer than that. But I just kind of wish I would have waited just a little longer before I went ahead and coated it with matte. So keep that in mind. I would put the decals on and let the whole locomotive sit for like a day, and just to be sure. There's no need to get in a hurry, and just let it get dry, and then go ahead and move on to your next step. I think I spent 6 days in total doing it, for maybe an hour in the evening, just kind of taking my time working on it. And you see here, I've got it pressed down. I got the toothpick to kind of help get it into place. I used a hobby knife at the beginning. I wouldn't recommend that. I just grabbed the first thing I could get my hands on. You don't want to tear up your decal. But if you're gentle and you use the unsharpened side of your hobby knife, it works okay too. And you can see here, I've got the backgrounds done, kind of giving you an overview of what it looks like. I got one to go. Make sure I get that board wet. And you can see kind of on the one that I've already done, the number is kind of sticking through the number board, or through the white background just a little bit. But it doesn't look terrible. You see me keep pointing there. I do the videos with a thought in mind. And as I go, sometimes it changes just a little bit, but I try to give it the best information I can on what I had done and what I had learned as I did it. That way, anybody that watches this in the future, maybe it'll help them out a little. We've got that one on. We're going to press it down. After we get it back straight, you got to be really careful, because when you put it that much water on, it does take just a little bit longer to get it to want to start sticking. But I'd rather have it that way than it stick and me not be able to get it where I want it. And we're getting ready to move on to the numbers. There's our numbers. I'm going to do these just like I said, do them a couple at a time. That way I don't get in the middle of something that I can't stop. I was going to put these on upside down just so that my number boards were lower, but I believe I went ahead and just decided to turn it back over and do it the other way. I ended up being able to do it, and I didn't want the water running down. That's what it was. I didn't want the water running down on the NW I had already put on a day prior. I didn't know if it would upset it or soften it back up to where it wanted to move again. You can see there's the first 1708. Get ready to stick that second one on there. And I'm going to have to get me a better pair of tweezers too. Those are just like, I found them at a yard sale, I think. I picked up a handful of stuff, and they don't, I guess they're great for doing your eyebrows or something, but they're not awesome for the stickers. The actual, where the tweezer pieces of metal meet, they don't pinch really well. So something that's really, really thin, they just don't seem to want to stick like they're supposed to, and hold the number. Here we go with our second set of number boards. Once we put these on, we will move on to assembly, which was interesting. The locomotive, since I said the motor had burned out in it, I had used that engine block, and I used another engine block that had burned up on another locomotive that I made in an earlier video. It's a C430 Tyco that was a Silver Streak. And what I did with this one was I just used two of the rear trucks, because if you know anything about the Tycos, the rear truck is strictly a pickup for the opposite side of the track from the front, because it only picks up one side in the front and one side in the rear. And I went ahead and just put two of those up front because I had some extras from ones that I had parted out. And it was kind of a learning curve too. You can't use the geared wheels, and you're going to see that here in a minute after I get this last number on, but you can't use the geared wheels on a rear truck, because the rear truck is made actually wider than the engine block truck is. So I had to use some other axles and wheels that were the same width so that they would fit, and I ended up getting stuck having to use a few wheels that were cracked. But until I can find some more parts, some Tyco parts that I can just, find some broke down lots that I can rob pieces off of, I'm kind of stuck that way. Now that everything is glued, or not glued on, but stuck on and finished, I've got the mat on it, and it turned out decent. Not perfect, but decent. I'm going to go ahead and start the assembly. The truck for the front, or the truck mount for the front, only goes in the front. The wide end goes forward towards the front of the locomotive. And I'm going to go ahead and move my parts off here and if you can see, you kind of have to pull the body apart to snap them in, the front part and the rear part. And you can see the holes on the sides where I put my fingers there as to where they fit. Now I'm going to do the rear just the same way. And now we have those in. The next thing I'm going to do is get the weight and the tanks that go on the sides. I'm going to start with the weight and get it close. And what happens is the tanks kind of are pinched in by the weight after the weight is in its final place. And just like that, they're popped in. Now we have the tanks done. We're going to move on to the trucks. And you see there's springs on them. I do kind of like that idea. They tend to ride decent. Definitely something that I think that was a decent idea for what they were doing. I wanted to check the truck and the side frames and make sure they were going to fit how they were supposed to. That metal block for the pickups that the wire ties to looks like it goes in one way or the other, but it does have a particular way of going, and the screw holes are offset to one side, so you want to make sure that you have that right. You can see there I've got them offset to the bottom there, and if you turn the locomotive over, that would be to the passenger, the right side, the passenger side of the locomotive. Now that I've got it all set up and I know that it's going to work how it's supposed to, I went ahead and got some dielectric grease and put it in the truck. That way the axles had something slick to spin on. I want this locomotive, even though it's a dummy, I want it to be able to roll as freely as possible to not put any strain on the next locomotive that's actually going to be pushing or pulling it. Because then it's just going to reduce the amount of cars I can pull, or the locomotive, if it's not a big enough locomotive, it might just sit there and spin. I've got the wheels in place. I'm getting ready to put the truck on. There we go. Slide it down, and now I'm going to hunt for my screws. That was the only thing I did not get out. I did not get out the screws, so I had to open my little box that I put them in and bring them out to put them in the side frames, to mount the side frames to the truck. You do have to be careful when you do this. If you screw the trucks down too tight, it will pinch the axles and the wheels won't turn correctly, or they'll have friction there and they won't want to turn, which will in turn cause your locomotive to have to work harder moving it around. So I screwed them all the way down and then backed them off until the wheels were free and rolling. If you want, you could use like a black or red silicone. You could put it on the threads of the screw if you're worried about the screws backing their way out. To help hold them in the place that you desire to have them. And then when you put the springs in, you just got to be careful. I spent a couple minutes trying to fish that spring out from behind that bracket that holds the truck on, for the front end of it. There we go. We snap the truck in place. We're going to grease the slots where the axles sit. We'll set the axles in. I went ahead and did them opposite of the other. I figure I'd do it this way, so maybe in the future if I decide to run lights on it or something, then I've already got it ready to go. All I got to do is pop the trucks out, since there's no wiring on them. Wire everything in and go. But I would like to drill some holes for the headlights in the front and actually put a set of LED lights on it, so when the power's on, the lights come on it. And what's nice is I don't have a ton of money invested. I got some time invested, but I don't have a ton of money invested in this locomotive. So if something happened later on, I did put a hole in it and mess it up here or there, then it's not a lot of money that's been lost. It's something I can learn from. Get our screws tight and then back them off and make sure our wheels are loose and that they'll roll freely. Put our front hook in. And that was going to finish this project. Guys, I hope you liked what I did with this one. I'm excited that I was able to bring it back to life and we could drag it around the track. And if you guys like this video, please give it a like and sub to the channel if you like, and click that notification bell. I'd sure appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.